Look me up on Google, search the classics. He plays, he bass. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow. Fuck it. Hold me up.
Welcome to Unfiltered Idiots,
where we chat shit about real shit,
talk shit about those not giving a shit, wondering and complaining why they ain't got shit.
So here we are, ladies and gents. Here we are.
Whoa.
Episode 17.
17.
The 17. We got a lot of topics today that we want to try to address. We've been a little busy. We've been trying to
It's been crazy.
Yeah,
it's been insane.
So we've been trying to just get some information out there to some folks, but it's been, again, we've had like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. We've had a lot of different things that have like popped off, and we just want to try to address some of those. Obviously, we're going to start filming a lot more again, so you guys should see a lot more information coming out. But yeah, man, that's what we've been
I just wanted to make a point here. We're not going anywhere, guys, okay? We're not going anywhere. So right now, before you go through this video anymore, I need you to hit the subscribe button right now. You're watching right now.
Share it.
Yeah.
Like it. Subscribe. Ring that bell.
I'm probably going to say that a million times because I'm a really huge analytical person, and our stats are stating that people are getting through about 15 minutes of our videos. So if
you have short attention spans.
So if you're going through 15 minutes, let me just get you right now and subscribe to that video right now. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you guys also ring the bell. Make sure you're turning on your notifications, and obviously a lot of people know how to use YouTube, but you always gotta remind them.
Yeah.
Make sure you ring that bell. Put that bell on all, so that way you guys get all of our notifications.
Sure.
But yeah, first and foremost, Kenny, for those of you maybe our first time listeners.
Yeah, my name is Kenny Newell, born and raised in Colorado, and I have a couple of children, work in property management, and I'm once again happy to be here.
I'm Wes, aka Metro. Also have two kiddos, Southeast Aurora. And yeah, man, I'm a personal trainer. I love what I do. So yeah, we've been friends for about 11 years now.
11 years,
yeah. So
over a decade.
Over a decade.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Kenny did a little short video on it, and I definitely wanted to kind of echo.
Us. Family here.
Yeah. I wanted to echo some of the things that he did about the Kyle Rittenhouse response. I agreed with most of it, or if not really all of it. Because it really was from a legal standpoint, it really was the correct, as far as at least him not being charged with murder. Mm-hmm. I think the evidence did point out that he was defending himself.
Yeah.
The issue that we both had, I think, and again, I agree with what you said on your response. And if you haven't seen that response, go check out Kenny's response to the Kyle Rittenhouse. It was definitely really, really well done, as usual. But it was the thing that what I did not understand that they didn't go after him for was the intent of taking that gun across state lines, and I do think there's a slippery slope there, but I do think that we need to, as a society and as a judicial system, start looking at people's intent to do something. I just don't think you should be able to go and do, where it looks like you're going to go there for violence.
For violence. So when I did the video, I was just stating purely what he was charged with and what, the verdict was. So now, expanding on that a little bit, I don't believe that he should have been there, right? There's no reason why Kyle should have been where he was at with the assault rifle, but me commenting on the facts is the facts, right? So was he defending himself? I believe so. Yes, he was defending himself. Was the verdict correct? Probably, according to what he was charged with. Now, giving the overview, since you're here, and this is something that I, Wes and I wanted to talk about together, is the other factors involved. Him protecting businesses, him taking the assault rifle, him crossing state lines. Yeah. Those are the things that we have issues with, and why he wasn't being charged. Exactly, and why he wasn't charged with those things. So.
And we're not supposed to allow that in our democracy
Right.
in a system where like we delegate that task to the police, to the military, like to well, just law enforcement, like across the board, right? Like, so I can't go and be a vigilante and then expect like, and that's kind of why I had an issue with some of the trials because, now it's saying like, well, I can't go be a vigilante and expect to not get in trouble. And
essentially,
and that's why
it's giving a license for people to do exactly that. Now, I think that there's other factors that came into play with this trial. The judge was different, right? The prosecution wasn't that stellar, but
it felt like they were trying to like almost throw it.
The vibe of the whole thing was off. A lot of media attention. And it's given people the license to do this now, and it's not the case. It's definitely not the case, and this should not be the precedence that is set going forward. And that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, and and like I said, and one of the things that in the video, and I agree completely with what you just said, like it's giving people that almost like the okay, like you said, the license to do it. One of the things in the video, and we talked about this on the phone one day. He said that like, this is, he said something, I think it was like along the lines of like, we're electing these people, to do the right thing. And I agreed with him about how we're electing people where I told him we had this kind of like odd, like disagreement / I think that, when you're in the moment, even like where we are right now, you don't kind of fully think things through. Like you try to your best, but you're on camera, you're like, oh, what was the next thing?
Well, we'll talk about that. Yeah. So let's talk.
Is that we're not electing those people?
So
we're electing. We keep getting bamboozled and brainwashed into electing these scumbags.
Absolutely,
and that's why we continue to have these problems.
But in my brain, and maybe call me naive, right? I still have hope and faith in the United States that one day we will go out there and elect people that aren't grifters and actually are out to do the people's work, right?
Yeah.
But totally got what you were under. So backstory here.
Yeah.
Wes watched the update that I did and, was really like, hey, we're supposed to be electing people to do these things. And I got what he was saying, but just like he just said, you're on camera, you're trying to get all the facts, and you were trying to compress a video.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that I say on camera with my friend Wes that we're not doing that. And it's sad. And from the political scene that we see today, it's scary. It's just... What are we doing? Then you talk about it. I don't know. Like, what are we doing, Wes? What is the go forward plan?
Yeah, that's why, like, one of the things we want to talk about is, like,
U.S. politics.
Like, the Republicans that are rifting. And it's the same thing with, like, in the Democratic Party. And, there's sides of it that I like because I really do want to see, more of, like, a 4 or 5 party system. I always talk about how I hate the lesser of two evils vote. That's still evil. Yeah. It's like that's what people never seem to like understand. They go, oh, the lesser of two evil. I'm just picking the lesser of two. You're literally still picking evil, and we should, like I've said before, the greater of 5
So
good.
How do people understand good and evil? Like,
well,
how do you flush that out?
They have to really focus on not going to those same the same media resources who have been time and time again. Caught over and over, and of like just blatantly lying and getting in trouble for stuff, like, right? And you're seeing that, and that's why I was talking about like the Republicans drifting, because Republicans, in a sense, I don't know if this is like a backhanded, compliment, but in a sense, they've always been very unified in their bullshit, and and not all of it is like they have some good things that they do, but there's a lot of
there's a lot of good Republicans out there
that they'll do that they'll like with Lindsey Graham, for example, something like that, right? Like trash Trump, said, oh, Trump's going to be the demise, and then he went there and just became a bootlicker. And immediately it was just right up his ass, and you're like, and that's what they've always done. They'll act like they're going to be.
I think it's funny that you brought up Lindsey Graham, right? Because I feel like Lindsey Graham was a good Republican at one point. I do. Now, not to say that he was a perfect Republican. I don't think there's a perfect Democrat or perfect Republican. However, the things that I've read, and I've told you that I've read a ton of books lately, over 12 books in the last year, just on the rabbit hole that Trump has created for this party, right?
Yeah.
So he's taking people, institutional Republicans, and turning them into swamp creatures. And we've talked about that over and over and over again. So my question would be, how do we go past this and get out of the Trump era? Or is it even possible, or is this just a new normal?
Well, and that's where, like I said, that I think that some of this is actually, in a roundabout way, a good thing. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Is that this rifting among them, you're seeing like Dan Crenshaw, call like Marjorie Taylor Greene and the whole Freedom Caucus people, right? Like Lauren Boebert and all that, calling them grifters. Yeah. And I mean, but yet he voted.
But he was the one that. Okay, so I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw what he was. I saw what he was saying, and so while I was agreeing what he was trying to convey, it was like, dude, you've done the same thing.
Yeah, and that's why it's kind of like, and so it's.
But I loved what he said, though.
Yeah, it's two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? But so why I think some of this is good is, and I've said this privately to Kenny too. This is not just on camera.
Yeah.
I may disagree with like Marjorie Taylor Greene and people like her. I just think they're blatant like lunatics about most of their stuff that they say and do. And there's some on there'll be like people that are left leaning that I will say the same thing. They go too far with something. It's just like everything is
there's no
sexualized. Yeah, it's like they don't ever have any like rational thoughts. So I mean, I'll trash on them, and I've done it many times. But like, why I think this is good is because you saw it from the progressive, like the true progressive left, challenging these fake wannabe populist Democrats, and that's what they are. That's what they've always been. They'll do whatever the corporation tells them to do. And it blows my mind that people think that Trump was not just like that. These are all this people in the same car. This car is a big car. This is a metaphor, there's a metaphor, right? But they're all in the same car. And they're handing money to each other, and maybe some of them, their seats are further apart from each other, and maybe like Joey doesn't like Becky in the back seat, but at the end of the day, Becky's giving money to this person who funnels it to Joey, and vice versa. And it's all one car.
You're absolutely right.
And that car is going right the way they want it to go. It's going exactly down the road that they want it to go. And meanwhile, all of us are like the homeless damn near on the side of the street. And we're just like, we're just trying to get a sandwich. And they're like literally going, oh, you peasants, quit complaining. But then once it's election time, they're like,
oh,
Trump
we're there for you.
I know the system's broken. I did it. And his fans just thought oh my God, he's going to fit. He's one of the people that are breaking the system.
You know what I mean? I've talked about this a million times, and I to this day will never understand how Trump has so many people under his spell.
And it's not just
because it's so obvious. Yeah. It's so blatantly obvious. And at the end of this video, I will kind of put the titles of the books that I've been reading.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just Republicans. It's our Democrats. It's Republicans as well. Those books that I've been reading, while they're explaining that this isn't just a normal political environment. This is a movement.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So it's funny and scary to see kind of where we're at. And I know that 2022 is a big year, and then we have 2024. So 2022 essentially is a huge election year for a lot of midterms. Yeah. So I am really concerned.
I mean, like I said, I
almost to anxiety concerned.
And that's why I kind of go back to that.
Interesting.
Why I see the rifting in certain ways is a good thing, because again, I may disagree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. I disagree a lot with what Biden does, what Nancy Pelosi does. But what I like is that I see this faction of people who are so frustrated, on that side, that yes, maybe they're electing people that are, in my view, that I think are, extremely radical in ways that they're more worried about what kind of gun they could, it's like a violent radical. Whereas there's a difference of like I said, when I get
It's domestic
frustrated with somebody
terrorism.
like on the left, when there's somebody who's like too far, on that side, it's usually that it's like oversensitive. And so
Okay.
we're not talking about people who are like, we want to have whatever kind of guns we want and shoot whoever the fuck. Like, that's the radical on that side. And that's why, like, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. Whereas the radical more on the left is like, again, it's oversensitive. And it's like, well, what's the worst thing that's going to, I mean, let's be real. What's the worst thing that's happening if someone's like, I think we need to just like make sure that everybody feels warm and fuzzy and gets a trophy.
Well,
Okay, so what? So some kids got trophies. This radical side is like going and murdering people, going and doing like white supremacy. They're homophobic. Like, they one of the things we're about to talk about in a minute, abortion. Like they want control over like people's bodies, but they, again, which is very common for people who tend to bark the loudest, right? About how they're freedom people, how they're all about everyone having their free rights. They're usually the ones that are trying to actually take that away. And so I like the riff because
I mean, you just explained it so well.
Yeah,
it's the people that are barking about being patriots, being Americans.
They try to overthrow the
those are the people.
election.
Those are the people that are trying to keep you down, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people that, as soon as they can, they are going to, kind of turn the country to a way which it benefits them the most, right? So
and the far radical left is like, I mean, they're trying to be like, and again, it's not a bad thing to be inclusive. They're trying to include. They're trying to make sure everybody feels all warm and fuzzy, and that.
And that's not the world. Okay, so here's where I have. This is what the issue that I have with the progressive left.
Like the radical side of it, yeah.
The radical side of it. So the issue that I have with them is the warm and fuzzy is not going to beat the radical.
Yes.
Crazy.
And not only that, it's not being. We could have a very, like euphoric and beautiful society, and still have people say, "Hey, listen, you play games. There's going to be a winner and a loser. It's okay if you lost at Monopoly." You don't like.
You're not going to get a trophy.
Everybody won. No, it's okay to teach that because then what you do is use those lessons of losing on how to get better at said thing.
And I think that everyone has, well, not everyone, the majority of people have spoken and said that we don't want a United States that looks like rainbows and unicorns. Okay, I got it. I get it.
Yeah.
So what we need to do with these radical lefts are kind of like get them into the mindset that that's not going to work. That's not going to work in today's day and age. And that's how you're going to start losing elections.
And that's why they're like having a major problem
within the party, right?
And not only that, but like all the signs are pointing to where they're about to have a huge problem in like the next decade. And I know people are like, oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
Their voting, like their voting age, like the age demographic, was I trying to say, it is like a dying. It really is a dying demographic, and I'm trying to legitimately say, hey, listen, I don't mind having some conservative views, but like if you're trying to control a woman's body via like abortion, like right, we have to have some sort of conversation where like. The science is it's not deniable.
Yeah.
The science is like it's an embryo, then a zygote, and a fetus. And around week 24, 25, which is why, like Colorado, for example, you can't get an abortion unless, again, it's going to,
Well, they've turned this and they spun this so many times.
No, they just lie.
That people are like, think that, oh my God, once you get pregnant and, the baby's 35 weeks, people are out there getting abortions, and that's just not true.
No,
it's just not true.
In most states, like even our own, it's the week 25, and that's about where I would start saying, hey, that's where we have that meeting in the middle. But they're not wanting to do that at all.
And I think that 25 weeks is too old. I personally think that is way too old.
But again, it's a woman's body. But I would rather say, hey, let's have like a conversation where.
But let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. And now I have my views on that. I think, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face. 25 weeks is way too old for a child to be aborted, right?
Yeah.
However, no one's having these conversations, right? It's either the left screaming, "It's my body," and the right screaming, you're trying to kill babies. That's kind of where we're at with it, I think.
I kind of disagree. I mean, like, I think that, like, we do have a large portion of people saying, hey, they would be willing to have this conversation set, like, again, I think it's their body.
Who's wanting to have this conversation?
I think there's people that legitimately want to have the conversation more on the left that say, listen, if we had systems that were in place that said, hey, if somebody, says that they're trying to carry to full term and maybe they're week 26, 27 and they're freaking out.
So here's what pisses
why are
me
we not
off,
paying,
bro.
maybe like financially benefiting them to go through adoption.
Here's what pisses me off, dude. What pisses me off is the right is campaigning based off of these lies, right? It's not that they give a shit. They don't care. I honestly don't think they care. They have to cater to these churches, these evangelicals, all of this stuff.
They want separation of church and state until it becomes legislation.
And it's just more than that. And I wish that people would one day open their eyes and see that. Like, the right campaigning about killing babies, doing this, and blah, blah, blah. I guarantee you, at the end of the day, it's just their campaigning off of this stuff.
This is a church
that runs.
This is a religious movement, and they always want to say, "No, this is about." It is about your religion because the only you're not looking because you're not looking at the science. The science is not. It's not deniable. I can tell you. I looked at this over and over and over. The Mayo Clinic, you name it. There's anybody who has an actual educational institute that studies this stuff, not fucking crazy pastor in Tennessee who beats his wife and kids and tries to act like he's some good guy. Sorry, that's a little tangent there for all those that follow that moron Tennessee pastor. Anyway, his own ex-wife now came out and said that he was abusive to him and his kids, but whatever, he's a deadbeat dad, but everybody should follow him. But anyway, point is, that's where it's coming from. And they're saying they're making statements that are just blatantly, it's not spin, it's not how they think. They're not looking at the undeniable evidence of what it is. It is an embryo, a zygote becomes a fetus. It is not viable. Many times these things do not become a viable human being until around week 24, week 25. That's where I think, hey, could we have that conversation where we say, hey, if you get to that point and maybe for some weird reason as a female, you're like, I don't know, man, I'm just not ready, and you're freaking out, then maybe there's a whole system in place where we say, hey, we want to not only financially, maybe there's a financial benefit there. Maybe it's a payment, like a direct payment. We have a family and ready to, adopt a baby. We, let's carry it to at least 36 weeks where the baby's full term. And maybe we say, hey, do you want to see if we can do a C-section? And I know to people might be like, whoa, you're but at least we have that conversation.
Listen,
they don't want to have the conversation.
I have not done enough research to comment on this, but however, I do want to kind of piggyback off of something that you've mentioned. Now, the other piece of this whole thing that kind of makes me mad and angers me to no end is adoption isn't easy. Of course, right? Adoption is expensive. Adoption is all of these things, right? And I ask everyone, why is this? Why is this such a hard thing to do? And then, on the other end, I'm like, it's a business. It's another business, right? It shouldn't be. And it should never be that. If I could adopt today without it being $100,000 or $10,000 or whatever, you know what I mean? I would adopt today.
Well, Gina and I have been looking at, and that's part of the problem.
Talked to me about that.
There's so many
But why? But why is it? Why is that?
The moment, and this is where
sorry guys, I'm passionate about that.
And this is the moment where true socialism and having that blended economy, which is what we already have. We already have a economy based with capitalism predominantly, which I like, and mix it with a little bit of socialism. And this is one of those things where we have to think about what things, we've talked about many times, and we won't go into that, but medical or educational systems, stuff like this, that should not have, an insurance, insurance, for example, right? So this is the same kind of premise where it should not have a profit-making middleman. Yeah. And we should, if we have to pay a little bit more tax, and again, people
so do you think that
taxes,
you just run that through the
pennies on the dollar?
How do you run that, though? I guess, because I thought about it a million times in my head. Would the government run that? Would it be state run? How would that system
either way, that's still government. But
I'm saying, how do we take out the middleman? And this being a money making
And that's, you have to have like, you would have to have a government that facilitates that. You could still have an independent companies who get paid, but I would prefer that those are like a nonprofit type company. Like, so these companies become, like just like your medical stuff, right? Like they become, they're still like Kinney's medical office, but Kinney's just billing the Colorado state government or the United States federal government.
Right.
And the difference is the federal government, instead of them trying to also make money, like you don't have all these like people trying to make profit in there.
Yeah,
they should be at a wash. We should be paying,
adoptions should not be a for-profit business.
And that's what I'm saying. You pay a tax.
Yeah.
There should be a wash. The government shouldn't be making any money off of it. That's the point of the tax. Obviously, some years they might have, miscalculated the amount, and next year we got to kind of collect more to make up for what we lost. And that's like getting in the weeds, but nobody cares about that. What I'm saying is we don't want, this one huge profit middleman in the middle who's not letting the dots need to get connected until they get their huge cut. And that's a big problem. And that's where the abortion side of it is where people are like saying, hey, I went to go try to do these things. I went to go try to look into all this. And there's so much red tape in there.
There's so much that you have to do that they just give up.
Yeah.
And then you have all of these children, that are in these orphanages, right? That really don't need to be there. It makes me so mad because I know that you and your wife have looked into it. We've looked into it. It's frustrating.
And there's a lot of kids out there that like need help, and that need to be adopted. And
I would have 3 or 4. I swear I would.
And I also think that like if we went down these pathways as a society, that you would see a lot less, I don't want to say like households being broken up, but you see a lot less divided. Even if the two spouses that were together decided to separate, I think that having a more like inclusive society where we're like actually caring about like how like this is like a really like hard way to say this, but having a more inclusive society where we're actually working together in a much more community basis is going to also help both parties who have child, whether it's male who adopt child, female adopt child, or have like a surrogate, whatever, or male female, whatever that spousal system looks like. Those people sometimes still will split up.
Yeah.
And if we have a system,
it's the same thing. Yeah. It happens.
Where we care about as a society working together, I think we'll have a lot better chance of having those two spouses work together to produce a upstanding, up and coming citizen, and we'll have less. So like this, see where I'm going with this. We'll have less people who make, in a certain retrospect, a decision that they didn't realize was going to impact them. In other words, where they need to go get an abortion. So if you see where I'm going with this, I'm trying to pull in the people on the right and explain to them that you guys continue to like want to keep everybody separated, knock them down, keep people poor, they continue to want to like keep everybody in this world that keeps creating like the next and up and coming kiddo with bad like what am I trying to say, like bad decision making, right? Yeah. And so that bad decision making, in other words, not using protection, right? Just little stuff like that goes a long way for them to say, oh man, I used protection, so then when I was ready to have a child, I wasn't like, I wasn't surprised by it.
Yeah,
but they don't want, like, if you tell somebody on the right, like, I think we should have like free condoms that anybody can just go walk up and grab, like from Walgreens, anywhere, King Soopers, Walgreens, anywhere that sells condoms. I think instead of selling condoms, again, this would be fractions of a cent in a tax that we can say, hey, let's just provide condoms. Let's provide lady, what I was trying to think of, like the
contraceptive.
Contraceptive care, but like that should all be something that like we just provide. And there's no stigma to it. There's no like, how old are you, young man? How old are you, young girl? No, like, but again, you tell them that, like, oh, I don't want condoms. Well, what do you want?
Right.
Do you want condoms, or do you want as you say, they're murdering these zygotes that are like this big, and they're like,
right.
That's the difference. But they never want to have that conversation. They always want to have only the conversation of like, oh, the Bible's full of shit. Yeah. The Bible in Numbers says if you suspect your wife of infidelity, you'll be taken in front of a priest. The husband can take her in front of a priest. She'll be given a poisonous solution that will then make her abdomen swell and miscarry the baby. That sounds like a forced abortion.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
Okay, so yeah,
there's a lot to unpack there, but I'm just trying to explain to people that's the levels that they don't.
I understand. I understand exactly where you're.
They lose their mind about abortion, but they don't want to go down the other pathway.
There's so many, and obviously we're passionate about this. There's so many angles in which I feel like there's easy solutions to this problem. However, we continue to put roadblocks in front of each other to make it harder for adoption to happen. So,
well, that's why I asked you though. Like, what would you say? Like, how to solve that problem? Like, how do you how do you fix that bridge that's clearly burning?
Yeah. So like I said, I just obviously it shouldn't be a for-profit business. I obviously think that it should be easier. The screening process, the red tape. I get it. I understand like the legality of it. However, but if a person has never had a criminal background or done anything in the past, why are they still going through these same red tapes? And there's more to that I think about it, but we don't have much more time. Right. And we can talk about this, going forward, but I just feel like we put so much red tape in front of ourselves for no reason, and well, it's for reason. It's for money. It's for profit. It's all of that. So,
and same with like on Planned Parenthood side, like it's also a situation where we say, hey, listen, like again, if we provide these services to anybody and everybody who like I said, needs contraceptive, that needs like birth control, whatever. And we're not looking at allowing this for-profit system to put them in a corner where they make a bad, a judgment one night, like they're passionate, they're in the moment, they have sex with somebody, they're 17, they're 16, whatever, they're 22, whatever, right, 30, and I just think if we were doing that, and it's not going to happen overnight, it's going to take generation, because they have to have parents who grew up in that system of saying, hey, young man, young woman, child, daughter, right, whatever, little nephew, little niece, hey, you're coming of age. We all grew up in that where we would just walk down to the grocery store. We could go and get, like I said, condoms, just things that were free. Hey, you need birth control. It's not a profit system. It's not a money system. Mm-hmm. Then guess what? I really, truly believe that like over like a time period that you're going to have less people because it won't be a stigma around having, premarital sex and all this stuff, which again is just a religious problem.
We need to stop that. So, it's like we're in 2021 right now.
I know, but that's
like why is this so taboo to talk about?
Who's in 2021?
Well, that's what I mean. Like that's what I mean.
The United States is, but many of these people who have these problems are like in like 1875.
But those are the same people that are on the news right now, and I'll bring up the Duggars that are going to jail, prison for freaking child porn and all this other stuff, and like they have their skeletons too. And I'm so sick of everyone being afraid of the church. Yeah, like I'm so sick of our country being ran and formulated based off of the church's beliefs, right?
Yeah, the church is supposed to be separation of state.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's
so you're supposed to keep your views out of legislation,
out of politics,
and that's
out of
exactly
all of
what they
stuff.
do not do.
That's what they do. Totally.
And all I ever said is like, I don't care what religion somebody is, but if I've said this many times, I'll say it again. For anybody who hasn't heard this, there's 4,200 estimated religions in the world. What if my religion says I'm allowed to just backhand people whenever I want? Should I be writing legislation for that religion? No. So like the reality is I'm not saying that you can't believe in said religion. I don't give a shit. I really don't give a fuck. Like, but what I'm saying is if your religion says, oh, you want control of this because that's what it says, I'm just saying no, that the whole idea of personal freedom and personal liberty, which is what they tout, is that you have that. You have that exact thing, the personal freedom and personal liberty. Yeah. So like, I shouldn't be somebody being told like where I can and can't stick my penis into like, and same with a girl. That's their vagina. It's, what I mean? Like that's their decision. But like when they go and make a decision, then they're saying, no, we want to control how, the consequences of that decision. Yeah. And it's like, well, no, that's not how that should work with personal freedom.
Yeah.
You know, and they're on such a slippery slope, and we always coddle to that side.
Right.
We always coddle to them. We always like to
because they have so much power.
Well, no, because there's a lot of people, like I said before, that are on the too far on the left they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and like you said, that's why they don't win when they have the really, like, by probably well over 20 million, maybe more, overwhelming majority of population in this country that is like on the side that, like, I think is the right side.
Yeah.
That's why that side has so much power, because they will stick together no matter what. They know that they're in the minority. Mm-hmm. They know that they're the less, they're probably 35-40% of the country, if even that. They know that. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, on the left side, they're so worried about, like, hurting
everybody's
their feelings.
Everybody being happy.
They're soft. And like, they need to start getting a little bit more.
And the right doesn't care. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, they are literally making videos of killing other people that they work with. Literally making a video of killing AOC, Ilhan Omar, all that. And that dude, not only does he still have a job, like, you know, like, if I made a video, we worked together, like, of me depicting me killing you, and you know, like, not only, you know, I don't like you, I've already said some things, right. I promise you.
You wouldn't have a job.
I promise you, within the hour, I'm walking out with a box.
Right.
Or by end of day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Or by end of investigation.
And it's so unfortunate that, like, that is the norm.
But he still has a fucking job.
Yeah, that's the norm in our politics these days.
And now they're getting death threats. They're having to, like, take fucking armored cars places. They have to have 6 people.
It's so ridiculous.
6 security members around
them.
It's so
ridiculous.
Because people are like, but again, we talked about this at the very beginning. The Kyle Rittenhouse, like, you're giving these people who are trying to be vigilantes, who don't have any authority to do that they've gotten this license and go, oh, they're seeing it. They're seeing a congressman literally putting out a video of him murdering, you know, his other peers. Mm-hmm. I think there's like 4 or 5 Congress members in there. I think there might have been one male, might have been, but like, and you see that, and he still has a job, and that's why I say, like, they're too far soft on the, too many are soft on the left, and they're not, like, realizing that they're losing this battle. And now we have about 11 states that have, like, put together these abortion bans of, like, around, like, 10 or 11 weeks.
Yeah, it's not even abortion. It's just it's like voter forced stuff. It's all kinds of stuff.
And like 11 weeks. I think that's, most of them are like 10 to 12 weeks. You're talking about something that literally, that video that went viral with Charlie Kirk, couldn't even tell the difference between a dolphin fetus and a human fetus. And I mean, like, because they look super deformed, like, they're not developed yet.
Right.
If you took either one of those fetuses out, and either one of those stages is a soon-to-be dolphin fetus, and a soon-to-be human, a soon-to-be dolphin, and a soon-to-be human, in that stages, they're just fetuses. Mm-hmm. If you took either one of those out and put the soon-to-be dolphin in some water, it's dead. It's not going to survive. You took that soon-to-be human fetus, put it out on the table, it's dead. It will not make it. There's nothing we can do. It doesn't have any development. But yes, now you start getting to week 23, 24. Now we can have a conversation. Yeah, their conversation is so far to, like, one side that it's not. There's no rationality.
There's no rationality. Don't even try to ration.
But we have to we have to attack that. We have to attack that with the simple fact that, like, we have the science that, like, completely shows that they're completely wrong. Yeah. And, like, this is not like, well, it could be. No. It's like, we absolutely know 100%. There's no 99.9. It's 100% the stages of from becoming a fucking cell to a multi-cell to then a fucking embryo to a zygote to a fetus, then becomes a viable human being around week 24 to 25-ish.
Yeah.
We have that. So we have to be able to have that conversation and tell them, abortion's a really big
We've got a lot of conversations to have over that, and we've actually thrown our entire episode thing totally out the window, and we are up on time now.
Well, we got in our things that we wanted.
We got a whole bunch of things in there. Yeah. And, one thing that I will say, me personally, I will never, ever talk about Kyle Rittenhouse again. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm over it. I will not make this dude famous. I will not give him any more attention. he can go live his best life, which I've seen him do. Anyways, my name is Kenny,
yes.
and you have come back to episode 17,
yes.
and we are on one today.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring the bell,
subscribe,
share,
all that.
All
right, hold on one second. Did you subscribe? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
And as we always tell you guys, if there's anybody that want to come onto the podcast, we would love to have guests. We're trying to challenge people to stop going to, we always talk about, these fake media outlets and getting their information that way, because sure, they might give you 60% truth, 70% truth, but like, you would never accept that from like your spouse, your kid. If we asked your kid what they did, if you knew they might have done something bad and they only want to tell you 70% of the truth and the other 30% is like that they stole a candy bar today, then like you would never accept that. So stop accepting that from these media companies.
And we're not always right. So if you want to come on and battle, let's battle.
Yep. If you want to get,
you want that smoke?
You want that smoke, that rap battle?
No.
That's a big factor. So
where can they find us, Wes?
You can find us at you do all that.
Okay. I did that on purpose. I did that on purpose. You can find us on Instagram at Unfiltered_idiots IG, on Twitter at UFidiots, and Facebook. Facebook and YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Unfiltered Idiots Podcast.
Yes.
Anything else? We're good?
No, man. Just make sure you guys are going to get sources. Make sure you're going to get good sources. Make sure you're going to get good sources. I can't say that enough. And a good source is .edus, .gov, some .orgs. It is not like
unfilteredidiots.com.
And it's not like, like getting it from some crazy, my friend's mom's sister's auntie said this, like get good sources, verify what you're like about to post out to something. You know what I mean? Like stop sharing bullshit to people and then like easily like later you go, hey, that video is doctored. Here's the real doctored video. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
like,
you know what? I won't even go down that. I won't even go there. Stop.
Easily getting bamboozled.
It's just like doctored. It's so...
Look me up on Google, search the classics, you crazy bass. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow. Fuck it. Hold me up.